What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a loose graded vintage Star Wars action figure market update. We've got UKG, CAS, and AFA graded examples. I've had my coffee, so I just got to warn you that I might be a little out of control. I'm tempted to go on a rant when we get to one of these figures, so stay tuned on that one. And it's not planned, but I just looked at the photos closely, and it's just... Let's go ahead and dig in. All right, the first one we've got is a CAS 80 double telescoping saber Luke Farm Boy. And so it was graded 80. It's a two-line GMFGI Hong Kong, which is the correct COO to pair with this double telescoping saber. So it looks like it's got some yellowing to the torso there, some scratches, things like that. Is it overgraded? You could maybe potentially make that argument, okay? So we got an 80.4. I mean, this is probably, honestly, this is probably a 75 plus if AFA was grading it. But it sold for $861 plus $18 shipping. Never forget the shipping. Never. To me, that price seems really good. I mean, you know, there was one on Facebook recently that was like $1,300 that was ungraded. And I would argue it was pretty similar condition to this. It had yellowing to the torso and it sold. And to me, $861 for this is another testament to looking for auctions right now. It's just I cannot believe that this thing sold so cheap. And that was a really good bargain, even despite the flaws. Even if you could argue that it's overgraded. I mean, you can look at the torso there. How did this get an 80? Look at that torso. It's got some browning going on there. To me, this is not an 80. I'm sorry. This is not an 80 grade figure. Look at that. Look at the back of that torso. He looks like he sat down in a pile of dog poo. All right, he's got a big brown spot on his butt. This is not an 80 grade. I'm sorry, it's just not. And it was recently graded. This was just graded this year. So you can't say it's discoloration after grading. So this one is overgraded, at best a 75, maybe a 75 plus if you're being really generous. But 861 is still a good value on that one, in my opinion. Next up, here's an AFA 85 Luke Farm Boy. This is a standard saber, okay? And this one is the Hong Kong dark pants blonde hair. So a pretty standard figure, right? This is probably the most common of the Luke Farm Boys. This one sold for $549. Now, which is the better buy in your opinion here? A double telescoping overgraded Luke Farm Boy for $861 or an AFA 85 very common Luke Farm Boy for $549. I don't know the answer to that. To me, I'd probably rather have the double telescoping saber Luke, even though it's overgraded. But anyway, here's this seller Browns. You know, he always has high grade figures. Here was a no COO Emperor's Royal Guard. This is probably the toughest one to find because this one only appeared on like tri-logos or straight Palatoy card backs. The tri-logo Emperor's Royal Guard is very tough to find. It's very, very expensive, mint on card, high grade. It's $1,000 plus, and if not quite a bit more than that. This one sold for $182.50, which I think is pretty fair, just given that it's the no COO variant. Next up was another no COO. This is for the Han Bespin. I don't know if those are reflections on the hair there. If you look at the hair right here, is that reflections from the lighting or is that hair rub? If it's hair rub, there's no way this is an 85. But if it's just reflections, then I can understand it. Let's see if we can take a look at some of these. Yeah, see, look. I can't tell. I can't tell. To me, it looks like reflections. I got to be honest with you. It looks like a reflection to me. But anyway, that is the no COO. Very tough one to find as well. That one sold for $217.50. Is that fair? I don't know. I mean, to me, this guy always seems to get really high prices for his figures, but in all fairness, they're very high grade and they got new case styles, things like that. So it's very nice. Here's an AFA 85 plus Hong Kong Luke Jedi with the blue saber. So this is a very desirable variant. $405 was the final sales price on that one. I think that price was very fair for a blue saber. I mean, we talked about some blue saber mint on cards that are just going for insane money nowadays. Over $1,000 easily. So for an AFA 85 plus blue saber Luke Jedi, I think that's probably pretty fair. You know, the 85 plus is tough to get on anything. Next, all right, here's beginning of rant. Okay, so if you don't want to hear it, you can turn it off. But this is a UKG 75 Taiwan Boba Fett painted helmet. So admittedly, a very tough to find figure. The painted helmet Taiwan Fetts only appeared on like later Return of the Jedi card backs, potentially maybe on the Droids card back, I don't know. But how did it get a 75 grade? Look at the chest paint on this one. How did that get a 75? Somebody please explain that to me. I have no idea how this got a 75 grade. This is like a 60, in my opinion. I mean, look at the paint on that, on the green armor there. That's just, there's no way this is a 75 grade. The paint got a 70, the figure got an 80, but you give it a 75. I mean, this is like a 60 grade, in my opinion. I don't know how it got that score, but in all fairness, the market deemed that this was overgraded, and it sold for $355. So that's the cheapest price I've seen for a painted helmet Taiwan Fett, assuming it's a painted helmet. It looks like the painted helmet to me. It's got that kind of weird thing going on with the helmet color. It's just kind of like a different, slightly different shade than the blue plastic that was used for the torso and the legs and arms and things. But man, that is an overgraded figure in my opinion. Next up was a bagged removable limb C-3PO graded AFA 80+. That one sold for $91, free shipping. I thought that was a very fair price. A very common item. It's not, this is a pretty easy one to find, but 80+ grade for $91. I'm not sure that you could send in a baggie, pay for shipping to AFA, pay for the grading costs, and pay for the shipping back from AFA for less than that. I mean, to me, that's grading costs. Next up was an AFA 85 Power Droid. That one sold for $127.50. I think I had this one in my what to buy video. They've got a newer case style now that's got a little base that goes around the feet. That's very attractive looking. I'm not sure if saying attractive is the right word for a plastic doll, but the new cases are very attractive. But this is the old case. That one sold for $127.50. That one came in even lower than I expected on that. I was expecting kind of $150. So $127.50 is a good price. Here was a Hong Kong Hoth Stormtrooper with the separate eye slits. There is also a Univisor version. UKG 85%. That one sold for £100, which is $127. Another very fair price. And they, UKG does it right. They do it a recessed case for that big blaster rifle instead of brackets that CAS and AFA uses. Don't use the brackets, guys. I'm an anti-bracketite. Stop doing it. This is the way to do it right here. That looks amazing. And I think $127 was a good price. Next up was the Dianoga Trash Monster. That was graded UKG 90%. Pretty easy one to find. This is not a very tough one. This one seems to pop up pretty regularly. And that one sold for £200, which is $254 US dollars. That's probably about right, in my opinion. Next up, this is a tougher variant to find. This is the China country of origin molded boots Hoth Rebel Soldier, graded UKG 90%, so very high grade. This one probably appeared on a later Return of the Jedi card back, but I've just found that the China COO just does not pop up nearly as much as you would expect, given that they appeared in pretty plentiful numbers if you think about it on mint on cards. I mean, the Return of the Jedis were probably, the Return of the Jedis for the Hoth Rebel Soldier were probably the China COO and the Hong Kong. I don't think there was a Taiwan COO for the Hoth Rebel Soldier. So, at that time, that was kind of the height of Kenner's heyday, right? So you would think that you'd see a lot more loose-graded China COOs for the Hoth Rebel Soldier, but it just does not come up that much. That one sold for £122, which is $155 US dollars. Next up is the No COO Medical Droid FX7. The No COO is another one that would probably appear only on the Tri-Logos or the Palatoy card backs, not to be confused with the POC or the PBP version. That one's got like a number 2 stamp that's kind of off kilter. But this one sold for £258, which is $329. So because it's a high grade, number one, it's a UKG 90, and because it's the harder to find No COO, that's probably why it sold so high. Next up, he also had a UKG 90% Luke Skywalker in his battle poncho. This one was, a beautiful last 17 figure. Really nice display there. That one sold for £288, which is $366 US dollars. I've seen some AFA 85s go for about that price, so that's probably about right. Next up was a UKG 90%. I think this is the semi-metallic version of the 21B Medical Droid. You can see that kind of metallic sheen going on the paint scheme there. There's like one with like bolts. I saw Padawan Collector mention that there's like a bolt on his hand. There's a bolt or no bolt version. I can't keep up with this stuff. every single day I feel like there's a new variant that's coming out. So I can't thank God for you guys, other YouTubers, and for variant villains, and some of the Facebook groups that can keep up with all these variants. It's exhausting trying to keep up with them. But this one looks like it's got the bolt on the hands there. So nice looking figure and a very high grade at 90%. And the price reflected that. It sold for 205 pounds, which is $260 US. I mean, AFA 85s will set you back, what, 150 to 175. So, it's a higher grade. It's a semi-metallic. Pretty great looking example there. Next up, this is an interesting one. This is the Spanish PvP, no COO, probably more like a Scar COO, with the eyes straight. So the label actually says straight eyes, and there's like eyes to the left, eyes to the right, straight eyes. This guy looks like he's been going on a, bender with some magic mushrooms or something. He's got that kind of dazed look in his I know that look, Hammerhead. I know that look. I used to remember those days. But this one was a UKG 90%. So beautiful example. Tough to get the Spanish figures in high grade. That one sold for 200 pounds, which is $254 US. Here's another one I had in my what to buy video. It sold before it even made it to the live show. So I assume that one of my Patreon supporters was able to pick this up when they got 24 hours early access, because it sold within like an hour and a half of me sending it to the Patreon supporters. But this is the UKG 80% no COO boss. Tough variant to find. I don't have this one myself. That one sold for 99 pounds, which is $127 US. That's a pretty nice example. Same seller also had this PvP, Spanish PvP leather cape Darth Vader. There's like 4 or 5 different Spanish variants for Darth Vader. This was a nice example though. That one sold for 175 pounds, which is $222 US. That's a beautiful example. You can see there on the label, it says leather cape, no COO, straight 85s for all the subscores. So beautiful figure, very nice Spanish figure. Next up, let's dig into those 2 items that Collectibles Investment Brokerage had that I also had in my what to buy video. The prices didn't disappoint. This is the Power of the Force prototype coin for Luke X-Wing. AFA 85, that one sold for $371. I don't keep up with the coins. I don't know what's appropriate or a fair value, but it is a prototype coin, so it's pretty cool. Much smaller, it looks like anyway, than the standard size coins that actually appeared on the mint on card Power of the Force for the Luke X-Wing. But $371 took that home. And then the other big one that that CIB had, was this 7-pack of villains. JCPenney catalog. All of the baggies were displayed next to the box. AFA 85. Wow. Straight 85s for all the subscores. And that one sold for $1,425.99 plus $35 shipping. So, again, a very, I don't know how rare it is, but this is the first time to my memory, at least recently, that we've seen one of these villain 7-packs sell in an auction. Usually that's listed for quite a bit higher than this price. So $14.25 did take that home. Next up was a brown snake Yoda, standard brown snake Yoda, Hong Kong AFA 85. That one sold for $275. Again, a pretty good deal there. There was another one that sold in an auction for $260, and I saw another one that was an AFA 85 plus that sold for $330. So this one came in right between those, towards the lower end of the range, $275 plus $10 shipping. That's a price I'd pay all day long. The brown snake Yodas are a little bit tougher to find. And then finally, I had to show you this one. Wow. I've never seen a CAS 95 for any vintage Star Wars figure. And this one was a CAS 95 Imperial Gunner with the coin. And keep in mind that they grade the coin too. The coin got a 90. The figure got a 95 for an overall 95. Wow. So that's a beautiful display case, but the price was, that was a gulp. $900. $900 is what someone paid for that one in a buy it now situation. So that's, again, I don't think I've ever seen a 95 grade for a CAS item before. I've seen it in a bunch over the years. I've never gotten a 95 on anything. But wow, $900 for a coin plus a loose graded Imperial Gunner. So anyway, I hope you found this information helpful. As always, it does seem like the auctions are the way to go if you can target some auctions, because there are lots of really good stuff on. I don't know if it's sellers that are like panic selling because they see the prices dropping and they're like, I need to sell my stuff before prices drop further. But hopefully you can find some good deals out there. And thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.